What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Daily Refinement. In this episode, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to share something personal, and I'm also going to ask you guys a question for what I should do because it is kind of a conundrum. As some of you know, I lost my parents 2 years ago. I leased a vehicle for them 4 years ago. They were not able to get a car on their own, so I leased them an SUV, all-wheel drive SUV in Utah because I'm from Utah. My parents were in Utah. Let them have a lease. So I was thinking, okay, 2 years, I'll just get them a lease, and then after that, they'll be able to hopefully get their own car, right? What I did not know is that they would drive over the mileage by 100,000 miles. So I had no choice but to purchase the vehicle at the end of that term. Actually, not at the end of the term, just during the lease, because I ended up getting it a few months before the lease ended. So I had the car towed here. I bought the car for 30 grand, even though the car is worth probably 15, 16 grand. So that was insane. It's like a huge kick to the nuts. But anyway, I've had it on the rental car service Getaround for a couple of years now. As you guys know, that's one of my income streams. Is I have a rental car business. So right now, to give you guys an idea of how this works, this is a good lesson on how you would approach this if you were renting cars out for a living. This car earns a net revenue of $500 after all the expenses is what I get, $500 per month. Now the car, if I count depreciation, gas, DMV, all that good stuff, maintenance, it costs about $700 a month. So I lose $200 a month putting it on the rental car service. And some months when I'm lucky, it gets rented a lot. Like, for example, people use it for a skiing trip or something. They'll take it for a while, and then those months I'll earn $700-800, and then I end up breaking even on the car instead of losing that depreciation. And so instead of taking that massive financial hit, I sort of spread it out by putting this car out there for rental. And now at this point, the car is about 5 grand underwater. Underwater meaning I owe 5 grand more than the car is worth. So if I were to just sell the car right now, I had to write a check for 5 grand for the balance, right? Which I could do, but I was thinking if I leave it on the service for 2 more years, it actually depreciates to the point where it doesn't depreciate anymore. Any all-wheel drive Japanese car is going to be worth 10 grand for the pretty much any amount of time as long as it's in great mechanical shape, which this one is. So I could wait 2 years and lose the 5 grand over the course of 2 years, and then it will start actually earning a profit at that point. It's kind of like a cash vehicle. So that would earn me anywhere between $100 to $300 per month, which is great. I mean, that's like a lot of bills. It's like my cell phone bill, internet. I would pay my utilities for sure. I could keep that vehicle on the system forever. As long as the car is running, it will produce $100 to $300 profit. In comparison to, like, let's say a vehicle that's more efficient and doesn't have as much maintenance, like let's say a Toyota Prius. My Toyota Priuses on the system earn about $550 a month. Net is what I get in my pocket, and those cars only cost $97 a month to own. This is depreciation, maintenance. It costs $600 less to maintain a cheap Prius on the system. That's amazing, right? Compare $97 with like a mid-range SUV that costs $700 when you factor in all the stuff in. So all the Priuses that I have earn $500 a month. Let's just be conservative. They earn $450 a month, and I'm using the lowest revenue months as an average. Most of the cars actually earn more than that, but let's just say a Prius earns me $450 per month. I live in an area that could support 100 Prius. In where I particularly live, I could have 100 Getaround vehicles and Turo and earn $45,000 a month, which is insane. That would put me in the top 1% of American earners. I live in an area that can do that. And that would not even cost that much because 100 vehicles, let's say in the high end, you're buying them for 9 grand. That would be very, very high. Usually you can get them for between 5 and 8, but 9 grand, That's 900 grand investment to earn 40 plus $1,000 a month, which is insane, guys. That's a lot of dough. Now, I live in an area where that could actually happen because a lot of people here don't have a car. So if you provide a rental car service, they'll get rented like crazy. But the thing is, the level of stress required for 100 cars is insane. Like there would probably at any given time be 20 or 30 vehicles that were dinged, hit. Um, you wouldn't have any like it would be a process of you almost want your own auto shop because all that maintenance and all those repairs and then making sure all the cars are up to admission and etc. Obviously, that's not that much work to earn that much money because I would say the cars probably take me 2 to 5 hours a month to take care of to earn $450, right? That would be the maximum 5 hours a month, an hour a week of just making sure the car is running. But what it more realistically looks like is most of the time you don't do anything, and then sometimes the cars have an issue, and then you have to take the time to go fix a broken window or parking tickets or whatever situation happens with it. So it's a couple $100 an hour is the way I factor in the cars. So if I did that full time, 40 hours a week, that'd be 8 grand a week minimum income. That's a lot of dough, right? But a lot of stress. So I don't know. There's a lot of things bouncing around in my head. I live in an area where there are just so many different opportunities to deal with things. I do have a passion for flipping cars, but I'm kind of addicted to e-commerce because I don't have to talk to any customers. I can just find an item, post it, they buy it, I send it out, and there's no customer part, right? I don't have to meet up with anybody, and the transaction cost is super low. There's also no liability, right? So when I sell a used track jacket, like nothing can happen. But if I am renting a 4,000-pound SUV, they can kill someone, they can die themselves. You know, there's only $1 million coverage for each person, which sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot if somebody is hurt or killed. Then $1 million runs out quick. So you would need a pretty fat insurance policy. I'd say probably 10 to 20 million, which is not crazy expensive, honestly, as an umbrella for your company, and separate it so that the company is not related to you. So that's a thought, because the average home in California is $900,000. So if I bought a $900,000 home like the one I was living in, the maximum rent you would get is $4,500 a month or $5,000 a month, versus $900,000 worth of cars would earn $40,000 worth of rental income. And that would take about 200 hours per month, which is less time than I'm working on my eBay store. Work on my eBay store probably 60 hours a week. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things. Plus, you don't have to, it's not very difficult to get a car loan because the asset is the car. So if you don't pay it, they just take the car back. So, you know, I wouldn't have to come up with 900 grand to buy 100 cars. The bank would happily give you a loan based on your income, and just hold the car as collateral, right? So interesting thought, right? Do I want to go big with the rental car business and put them everywhere in the Bay where I live, and then just do I don't know how I would manage what I'm doing right now. I probably would have to have a valet, so a person that goes around, takes care of the cars, checklist. I don't know how I would handle liability, but I think this is actually maybe a very simple problem to figure out. But right now I have 3 vehicles rented. I also have a situation, my parents' vehicle, and maybe part of that is I don't want to get rid of it. I don't know. So just some thoughts. This is a little bit personal. Maybe I shouldn't be putting it out there, but whatever. Just wondering what you guys would do, or maybe some thoughts, advice. You feel free to email me at chris@dailyrefinement.com, or you can leave a comment below. And the rental car business, to give you guys an idea of how I look at it, is each vehicle produces $300 to $500 a month net income before tax, and you get massive write-offs for depreciation because you get over 50 cents a mile deduction, but it's only costing you 11 to 20 cents a mile to actually operate a cheap Japanese car. Shout out to the college picker. He drives a Prius and understands just how cheap it is to operate one of these vehicles. I mean, like, you're talking under $100 for cost of ownership per month for most people. That's cheaper than the bus, right? To own a car. So pretty dope, especially since gas prices in California are nearing $5. So even cheaper to own somewhere else other than California. Also, insurance is higher here. Maintenance is higher here. You could probably maintain a Prius on your own for $50 a month if you lived somewhere in the middle of the country. So hopefully this is interesting, guys. I do have a background in working at a car dealership. I used to work for a dealership, a Lexus dealership. I sold just over 1,000 vehicles while I worked there. And it's kind of interesting. I have no issue, no stigma with being a car salesperson. I mean, it's extremely difficult. If you guys want to see what it's like to sell a $70,000 car, it is 1,000 times more difficult than selling stuff online, because that's a lot of money. You know, the average person that buys a Lexus is worth $1 million, and they don't want to give it up, and they don't need a Lexus. So selling stuff that people do not need is very different than selling stuff that people need on the internet. That's actually totally different. And those skills have translated. So when people are like, oh, why would you take advice from a car salesman? A lot of the best advice I've ever received is from car salespeople. It's very hard to sell a vehicle. And actually, if you work for a reputable dealer like myself, you can't be shady, because there's Yelp, there's Google reviews, and there's the Better Business Bureau. It's not like the old days where they, would, I don't even know what the old days were. I was only raised in the internet era, so you can't be shady because your online reputation is everything. If you were to be characterized as a shady person, you could never work in this industry. So I don't know what people are talking about. In fact, nowadays when you're purchasing a car, there are so many consumer protections. I mean, it's very hard to get screwed when buying a car unless you're dealing with a very shady individual and a shady company, which is very rare to have both of those in the same situation. I have met most of the people that I know that earn the highest amount of money are car salespeople. So if you guys are looking for a job that you make more every year doing the same work, car sales is one of those jobs. Every year that you work at a car dealership, if you do your proper follow-up, the old customers will continue to buy from you, especially corporate customers where I live, where every 2 years they get a new car. They don't want to go car shopping again. The experience for me was mainly driving their new car to their work, doing the paperwork over lunch, driving their old car back, and making $600 for an hour. So that's very, very different than reselling and having to look for stuff over and over and over again. If you build a sales funnel, that's worth a fortune. The guys that I know earning $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a month, they have so many previous clients that all they're doing is collecting checks all day. They drive the new car to somebody's house. They go for a quick test drive, and they bring the car back, and that's it. It's becoming more of an e-commerce buy online type of thing. Teslas are not taking over the world yet. The model of buying directly from the dealership still pretty uncommon. So it's not, there still is a need for a dealership and a need for a quality person to explain the vehicle and explain financing. We live in a culture where the average loan is 66 months. So people are leveraging themselves to buy the most expensive car that they can afford, especially if they have a really good job. They feel like they deserve something really expensive. So it's not uncommon to sell someone who earns $100,000 and $90,000 car, right? And that payment of $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 a month seems to be no issue. So that will never get old. I don't see our economy basically needs these kinds of people to keep operating. So if you're looking for a high-powered job in sales, car sales is one of those positions. So I can't recommend that career more. It wasn't what I've always done. I just did that when I moved to California. Some of you guys know I used to live in New York City before I lived in California. when I got here, the first day, I realized I need a car to live here. So that's why I applied to sell cars on eBay. That was it popped up on Craigslist. So I was like, I can do that. Went over there, sold a bunch of cars on eBay, and then I was like, well, um, I'm doing a lot more work than the people who are selling them on the floor or internet sales. So how can I do that? I was basically given a 90-day trial to do that. I checked it out and it ended up working for me. That was a very, very high paying job. So, yep, that's car sales, guys. So if you have any questions on how to buy a car, how to sell a car, feel free to email me, Chris at dailyrefinement.com. Take care.